welcome back to another edition of the Slamcast here on the Retro on Limb Network and on iTunes. Thank you for subscribing. I am Brandon Liggan, joined as always by my merry band of cohorts, Nick Horaceck.
Yep.
And Michael Burhan.
Are you like Brandon Strowman?
I am Braun Strowman's younger brother. less intimidating brother, as I've been informed. Which is
You're the one who tells him to chill out. You're like, yeah, dude, just chill out. No need, like, guys that like you.
Yeah, my theme song is just like, yeah, and then a light kind of like jazz riff.
Where's my pizza?
Yeah, right. This is the Slamcast. We are coming hot off the heels, off the biggest event of the summer, off probably the biggest weekend of combat sports entertainment, if you will. But we would not be we'd be duly remiss if we didn't mention a happy belated birthday. We are recording this one day after the fact, but happy birthday to the man who, quite literally, without this man, we would not be doing this podcast. And that is a happy 71st birthday, Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Happy birthday, you son of a bitch!
So Brock Lesnar's other job had a big event this weekend down in Vegas. Dare say some people are calling it the true UFC 200. It lived up to the bill of the by far the most exciting fight card of the night. My two big highlights were the absolute astonishing knockout Anthony Rumble Johnson put on Glover Teixeira. Like, that was scary. Like, he hit that guy hard, and I hadn't seen a guy go down like that. And even from relatively close range on a shot that didn't look like it should knock somebody out like that, he caught him flush and put him down hard. So much so that Glover Teixeira didn't know what happened. And when Dan Miragliotta, the referee, tried to wake him up, Glover tried to wrestle Dan Miragliotta, thinking the fight was still on, and had no idea what was going on. That's how hard he hit him. We're not going to see Glover Teixeira for a while. That's how hard he got hit.
Has his tooth returned from orbit yet?
Maybe. Who knows? I think somebody probably caught that in the first couple rows, for sure. But after a stunning performance like that, the question about Rumble Johnson was, where does he go from here? Does he go from wait for John Jones to serve his suspension and kind of fight the Eliminator fight Daniel Cormier, or does he just become the de facto light heavyweight champion, light heavyweight number one contender? I think he becomes the de facto number one light heavyweight contender. Don't wait for John Jones. Who knows how long that's going to take? Fight Daniel Cormier again and see how that fight goes, because your time as a fighter is only is finite. Take the title fight now, take the big payout, and train your ass off and try to become champion. Now, who knows how that fight's going to go down? There is certainly some cat and mouse played in the post-match, because Daniel Cormier, in his Fox Sports advisory role, had to essentially interview his future opponent. They did a good job of keeping those two away from him, but a relatively unscathed Rumble Johnson says, he doesn't care. It's up to whoever. Let's just do it. Mm-hmm. So it looks like we're going to see Cormier Rumble Johnson at some point in time in the near future, which is a scintillating fight. But moving on to the main event of the evening, or do you want to talk? We'll talk about the main event of the evening, because that was probably, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people are going to say Lawler, was it the fight with Robbie Lawler where he was all bloodied up? That fight might be the best fight ever. I don't know. I think for the hype that McGregor-Diaz had and with the spectacle what it produced back and forth,
Yep.
I mean, that's got to be one of the best fights of all time. Not without its own controversial ending. I mean, as you saw, McGregor definitely took the pace to Diaz in the early rounds and just it seemed he had him on the ropes and had him in spots where he would normally finish, rush in and just try and finish it. But he learned that might not be enough to finish Nate Diaz, and he would have to then continue that fight with less stamina. So when fights normally where he would rush in and try and get the TKO, he let Diaz get back up, and he was actually going for the legitimate, undisputed knockout. He hit Nate Diaz with shots all throughout that fight. Now, once he got into the third round or so, he he definitely got tired, and that's when Diaz, his, I guess, better conditioning at this weight class came into effect because Diaz wasn't tired, and McGregor showed great defense, but, there were some shots that definitely looked like they could have finished the fight. McGregor was definitely on the ropes, so round 3, without a doubt, was probably the best Diaz round. I mean, people want to say 2, but I definitely say round 3 was, without a doubt, a pure Diaz round. Round 4 was probably also a Diaz round 2. That kind of went back and forth. And then, round 5, I think McGregor clearly knew what he had to do and just, saw the fight out. And then he came close to times in that 5th round, too, to ending it. But, McGregor came away with the majority decision. One judge actually had a draw, which I think that was probably the more realistic of the 2 decisions. But Conor McGregor finally gets that win back, and there's already talk of the trilogy. But Conor has his obligations at 145 that he has to oversee, and I think, people should say he's either dropping that belt or defending it. I think he has to defend it. I think he has to give everybody the rematch with Aldo that everybody wants to see before Nate Diaz gets his quote-unquote trilogy fight. And I think time is only going to make that third fight between Diaz and McGregor all that much more sweeter, because Diaz has said it himself, he's not going to fight anybody until he fights McGregor a third time. So,
yeah,
we shall see about that.
Yeah.
The other big news coming out of it was Brock Lesnar has served a suspension from the Nevada State Athletic Commission for his failed drug test.
Pending investigation, because they're basically saying it's going to be a lot harsher.
Pending investigation, yeah. This is not the end of that story. This is only just the beginning. The legal process, this is going to be probably about a year's worth, so we're not going to see Lesnar in the octagon anytime soon.
We'll probably never see him in the octagon again, bottom line.
There could be a maximum of a 2-year penalty facing Lesnar right now because of the issues that they have with him failing the drug test. He says it was an over-the-counter thing. They're begging to differ. So we're kind of on a situation where both sides feel that they're right, but it doesn't really make the UFC look good. This is not making the WWE look good. It's kind of a PR nightmare that needs to be resolved ASAP.
This is going to come down in the courts. This is not going to be ruled by any one particular body. This is going to be decided by a court. We've only just begun to see the legal fight with this, and
we've only just begun.
We have only just begun. Just like the UFC, the UFC card happened after NXT TakeOver, but if Saturday was any precursor to what Sunday was going to be like, we knew we were going to be in. We knew we had to top a lot because Saturday was a lot because NXT TakeOver yet again blew the roof off the Barclays Center for the second consecutive year.
Why the WWE went the way they did at SummerSlam because of what the suspension's going through and stuff. But yeah, NXT TakeOver, I have to admit, and I'm going to say Nick agreed with me on this, it was so much of a better show than SummerSlam because it was more tighter. They knew what the finishes were going to be. No
you can't.
Finishes.
I don't think you can't really compare the two directly. It was a great experience for everybody there. I was kicking myself for not actually going when I probably
Yeah,
could have
because-
could have
As
gone
well, though,
easily.
I think the storylines were a lot better because they had conclusive endings.
Well, they had it's smaller. You can't compare a 2.5-hour show to what ended up being a 5-hour show. You really just can't compare that, because they had
But
so
again,
much more to do in SummerSlam than
the
NXT had.
pacing was right. The placement on the card was better.
They had less to do. Of course, the placement is going to be better because there is so much storyline that had to get wrapped up and furthered at SummerSlam that it had to be a 4-hour show.
We got that match with Austin Aries and No Way Jose. It was a great opening. And
Yeah,
Aries
despite the fact that No Way Jose is another one of those kind of dancing gimmicks, it gave him a bit more of an edge with the match between him and Aries.
Yeah.
And it made Aries look like $1 million
vicious.
bucks. You know,
And
for a guy
like a
Aries'
vicious
stature, people don't understand. Aries is shorter than me, right? I'm 5'8".
No, that's what I'm saying. Austin Aries, the fact that they make Austin Aries look like a legitimate threat as a heel in that match is very impressive. Again, I mean, I'm not surprised that No Way Jose, a Dominican, got over in Brooklyn. Not at all surprised. What I was surprised by at the end of the match when Austin Aries was going off, again, trying to show the viciousness of the heel character, lo and behold, who comes back after a year
he
or
wrestled
more?
A couple times, but this is
the first TV appearance.
Third, because he did have a couple. Teo Itami came out, and Aries, he had this bug-eyed look on his face, like, oh hell no.
Yeah, and he also used the move that he made famous. And for those people who are being dumb, CM Punk never made the GTS. The GTS was Itami's always. Punk even said in interviews that he stole the move from Japan because the finisher he wanted to use, he couldn't use, which was the Pepsi Plunge, which is basically a pedigree off the second term.
Triple H can't have that.
The only person who's ever been given permission to do the pedigree was Seth Rollins. But so it's great to see him put that move. It opens up a nice little feud between him and Aries. It didn't hurt Aries at all that he did that because it sets it up nicely for this week's NXT so they can have promos and the two can have a war of words, which truthfully Aries is going to win because Itami's English isn't that great. He's getting better, but it isn't that great. He's no Nakamura on the mic. No. So you got that. Then we move on for the next match.
But man, 2 years to wait for him to hit that move, and it was a pop.
Yeah.
So
we've been waiting ever since he's been in WWE, and it definitely delivered. I guess the other big moment.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about the glorious moment. We're going to talk about glorious moment, or we're going to talk about Ember Moon because that was a big debut.
Well, I will say this. I will say about the glorious moment. The entrance was great. I don't like his finisher. Maybe it'll take me a bit of time to get used to it, but it just reminds me too much of the Road Dogg.
The entrance that Bobby Roode received is the stuff of legend. I mean, that when you're making your debut in a new company, that is literally the best
descending from the heavens.
Descending from the heavens as the crowd sings your theme song.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if Bobby Roode is a religious man.
No.
Yeah, hold back. I think Dixie Cart is definitely on suicide watch now after watching this. Anyway, I don't know if Bobby Roode is a religious man at all, but I don't know what he was mumbling to himself, but I think it was definitely like a thank you, Jesus. Praise God that I'm, allowed to do this. Is the greatest moment of my life. The man almost did the job well, putting Bobby Roode over, but it's going to be interesting to see. Now NXT has another main event player to use to establish themselves. To establish themselves as the third brand in WWE, I think.
The one thing I will say as well, we've also got, it's not really breaking news, but James Storm has relinquished his contract because apparently there's been some payment issues again. So we may see a reunion of the two in NXT at some point because he did say that he's willing to take the pay cut and go to NXT because truthfully, any person who goes from TNA to NXT is taking a very huge pay cut, but in the end, you're gonna make more money from merchandise sales and DVD sales.
You're actually gonna get paid.
You're going to get paid in the long run. As long as you know what you're worth, you're going to get a lot more out of the NXT experience. And yes, as Nick said, you know that you're going to get paid. That you're not basically jumping on a plane, a la ECW, to go somewhere. Where you have to work and you're not going to get anything. This TNA is basically mirroring.
You wait for
ECW
that.
on
You wait
part.
for that day when when the paycheck is supposed to show up in your bank account, and you're looking at your bank account, and then 4:30 rolls around, and there's still no money in there, and it's after business is closed, and like, okay, hey, what's going on? Oh yeah, sorry, hey, we had some problems this week. We'll get you next week. Yeah.
Yeah, that gimmick.
But that's kind of the thing. So NXT has made single-handedly. This is why I love the brand so much, because they can make stars immediately from a song to an entrance.
Well,
Like,
we'll talk, and
I will talk.
It's mentioned that you brought that up because I thought a star was made that night with Bobby Roode,
Yes.
and we'll talk about that later on in the show. Segueing on, we saw one of the best matches again
Did you want to talk about the Ember Moon debut real quick?
Yeah, I'll talk about that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because that's a little
undercard.
tougher.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an undercard that really needs a mention.
Yeah, no, this was is a very interesting debut to say the least. I thought at one point in time we thought it was going to be Alicia Fox being repackaged. That was clearly not. We were clearly wrong on that. I was not impressed. Like I got very Glacier vibe from her. Like she was all entrance, not a whole lot of substance in the ring until she hit that stunner.
That stunner was, I have to admit, I skipped the match, and then when people started talking about the stunner, I went back, and I was kind of glad that I skipped the match, but the finisher was impressive. I think she's got a long way to go, and being on NXT is a great way to kind of evolve
yourself.
This was her
introduction. It wasn't going to be like she was going to go out there with like Asuka and have a 20-minute showcase, This was about getting her over, her moves over, that type of thing. Yeah,
and think about it this way. Look at the women on the WWE's roster right now. Your Charlottes, your Sasha Banks, your Becky Lynch's, your Baileys, who came into the NXT roster, and they were green as hell. And, it's one of those things you come out of it and you look at it and think, these girls were practically in the same state this girl's in at the moment. She's going to be just fine, especially with the fact that the trainers are so good on the women's side as well. So we're gonna see a future WWE Women's Champion, in my opinion, especially with that stunner. As long as she doesn't get hurt, as long as she doesn't do anything to affect her hitting that move.
She's a Booker T protege too, so I think Booker T should get some credit for the Booker T Wrestling Academy for churning out. You gotta forget the Usos are a Booker T product. Mm-hmm. You can count Roman Reigns as that, or Roman Reigns is purely...
Again, though, do you remember the Usos when they debuted?
The Usos are good in the ring. The Usos unfortunately...
When they debuted, though, dude, they
were not good. They were not good. They were not good, but they got good. There was potential there.
Hey, dude, in my opinion, on the mic right now, as a tag team, on the mic, with their ability, they can't be touched, right? They are the kind of antithesis.
Right. I don't want to do 10 minutes on the Usos. I really don't want to
do 10
minutes on the Usos.
That's me, but I'm saying, though, there is potential here, and the great place to see this is NXT.
Yep. Big things for Ember Moon in the future.
Yeah, Ember Moon, I think we're definitely going to see a future contender for the NXT Women's title. That we'll talk about later. But we'll talk about one of the best matches I've seen, tag team matches I've seen in a really long time. Possibly match of the year candidate. I mean, we're gonna have to do some hardcore paring down when it comes to the Slamcast Awards recognizing excellence, outstanding achievement in the field of excellence this year. When it comes to match of the year, because the way Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa have been going, they are very easily making themselves a shoo-in, at least for a nominee, with a steady resume this year of great matches, and another one had by the Revival. With the Revival this Saturday.
I have to admit, remember when we first talked about the Revival? I said they were shitty.
We remember like when in London it was, are you Dawson or are you Dash? Like you couldn't tell which one of them are which. We were like, oh, these guys are a joke. Like what are you gonna do? Like they're just generic.
But I think they've become Felicia's favorite.
They've got the whole They've got the whole Arn Ole Anderson thing going on right now. They're like a smash mouth team.
I like that. No flips, just fists. Or according to Felicia, said no flips, just fist me. I had to squeeze that in there.
Charming. I think that girl just wants to get herself memed. That's how she's getting famous. She just wants herself memed. Anyway,
aren't that's what we all doing though? Aren't that's what we all doing? Like, come on, she's not doing anything different. She's not doing anything different than you're doing with your YouTube channel that I'm doing with the podcast.
Exactly. It's
just what I'm saying
she's using her tool, bro. I'm not down. I can't knock the hustle.
But yeah,
well, as I said, right, in regards to the match itself, it was a quality match. It was high quality. I don't know what it is with the one gripe I have with this. The two of them split up and feud. I don't. I think as a team,
I thought it might happen too. Because again,
I was nervous it was going to happen that night.
They seemed like I always like Tommaso Ciampa was always billed as the psycho killer and like a guy who would do anything to get ahead. I was waiting for that turn.
But I think though, as a team, they're more money because you don't have any teams right now. You don't have, apart from TM61, who are a long way from being in that contention.
And then the Office Main, who are still, a long way.
Yeah, well, no, unless you could, through the Matrix, inject what TM61 did as TMDK in Japan and in the Independence, and just here, that's what they did as that. Here's one of the most famous teams in the world. Here's all that knowledge. They are.
You kind of need, at the moment, a situation where the only relevant team, and this is the thing, they have proved in spades that Ciampa and Gargano can freaking take out the Revival. They almost did.
Just call them Tomato Chompers and Johnny Wrestling.
Well, I think in terms of feuds, if I was the WWE, I see money in this feud.
Yeah.
Keep it going for at least a couple more months.
What's great about Tomato Chompers and Johnny Wrestling is there is no Shawn Michaels and Giannetti. They're Bull and Michaels.
Yes.
Situation. When they break up,
they are amazing.
They're going to be bona fide single stars. Bottom line.
Or at least not stars. I think Gargano is more the star because I think he's younger than Ciampa's my age, mine Burhan's age. In his 30s. I think Gargano is still 28, 29. I don't know how old.
Ciampa started late, didn't he? I remember he was
he was in the developmental before, but he was released and made his way back.
He basically went to Ring of Honor, made his name there, because he basically was part of Prince Nana's stable, if I remember correctly. He basically started off a kind of a background dude.
The Embassy, yes. Thank you, Nick.
I knew I had that name somewhere. I was trying to figure out. Keep going, Burhan.
Did we lose him? We lost him. Anyway, moving on. Gargano and Ciampa, big things to come from them in the future going forward. All right, let's talk about other few people's careers moving forward. How I did that segue.
Another show stealing match. Should we go on to the women's match because that was another
That's literally what I was going into.
Yep.
Bayley versus Asuka in one of the most hard-hitting women's matches I've seen in a long time.
Shit, yeah.
You're really reminiscent
I had two people tell me they hated the ending to the match. I thought the match was precisioned perfectly. It made both people look strong, and it gave Asuka that big win because it makes her that big threat.
It makes Asuka look all that more invincible, as Bayley literally threw everything she could at her, and it wasn't enough. And at no point in time did Asuka ever really look in danger. I thought at times during this match that, Asuka was taking, or Bayley was taking so much of Asuka's heat that, she was just going to spring up from out of nowhere and it would be a Super Bayley kind of thing, John Cena-esque. Mm-hmm. But what we got was another match of the year candidate. And actually, one of the things that's going to make this probably a shoe-in for show of the year, too, the dramatic feeling at the end after Bayley loses and, kind of has her curtain call moment because...
Yeah, she gets the big send-off.
Which, at that point in time, you kind of knew that was kind of the end for Bayley. And
we all did. That was kind of the swans. We all, I remember when we did when we were talking on the riff tracks, me, Nick, and Miguel, we all actually sat there and agreed that this was that was it. There's nothing else for Bayley to do. And the thing is, her showing was so great that as soon as she debuted on the main roster afterwards, it made her look like a million times stronger because she's credible. She's not one of those people who sits there and you're like, oh, she's an underdog. She's not. She's credible off the boat because of that match in NXT with Asuka.
Yeah.
This was her Asuka. Asuka was, and I know I've made the comparison to Bayley and Tommy Dreamer before. Asuka was Bayley's Raven.
I think Asuka is the female version of Shinsuke Nakamura. She's
yes.
Oh my god!
Undefeated.
When they were showing those like the packages before, and they showed like her like the clips of her yelling in Japanese. Thickening, man. The thickening. I could just like Asuka's promos should just be her yelling at somebody in Japanese. Like they should subtitle her.
But yeah,
I'm going to say this. I got a chub as soon as she started.
Dude, the grunting and wailing back and forth of this match was definitely very, very erotic. I definitely was just like, it's giving me feelings there. I had this is the match. This segment granted me both somewhat of an erection and tears at the same time because when Bayley was moving out and shaking everybody's hands, and you know what it was? It's that fucking girl Lizzie. Every goddamn time she breaks me, I see her going over to hug Lizzie. I'm just like, oh god, she's going over to fuck this fucking kid.
Yeah, as soon as I got that, I'm like,
why am I crying?
It was. Bayley posted on her Instagram yesterday that whole thing about her, going clearing out her locker in the performance center and all that. So it's like, yeah, here we go. She's now up there on Raw, but we'll get to that.
Yes,
because we still have a match to talk about.
Well, yes, and we find and another solid match. I almost feel this could have been better, but after what we saw. I mean, Samoa Joe, Bayley definitely said, all right, guys, follow that. And they did their best job to follow that, but I don't know if they lived up to it.
It made Joe look so credible against Nakamura, though, because the thing is, with every Nakamura match, you know that Nakamura's going to hit it and win, right?
I know. Yeah,
this match was an uncertainty.
This was the first match I actually saw where Nakamura legitimately looked like he was,
right.
Getting
under threat.
killed.
And Joe was beating the crap out of him mercilessly at times. But then Nakamura, showing the Japanese fighting spirit, would fire back and hit not one, but two Bomaye knees. I'm still calling it the fucking Bomaye knee. It's not the Kinshasa.
The one thing that we've got to figure out at the moment is, did he actually injure Joe? Because we haven't
the referee threw up the X, man, so I think there might have been some legitimate injury. Like, you saw, like, as...
one... When he took the knee sitting down, you can see Joe getting grabbed for his jaw, like, oh, shit.
Ooh, yeah, he grabbed the back of his head. Really, really, really close. And, then he still kicked out of the match after that, but
yeah,
the second one that he took... Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, once he hit that first knee, he was like, hey, this is it. Here comes the end of the match. And you saw Joe looked hurt, and it was just boom, knee to the back. The Kinshasa, 1, 2, 3, the crowd explodes. I lose my shit.
Oh no, it was probably at that point in time I had said to myself, fuck me, I should have went to this show for the 47th time probably.
Yeah.
It was every other segment, every time something cool happened, I said, man, I'm an idiot for not going to this show.
Yeah, I figured you didn't go to that show when I didn't get Snapchats every 2 minutes from you.
I know. Well, no, I wouldn't have done it anyway because I probably would have killed my battery, but yeah, I could have went.
Let me ask you, Brandon. On between a 1 and a 5, what would you rate NXT Takeover Brooklyn to?
I mean, that was a 5. If I'm looking at a wrestling show, that's the perfect wrestling show for me.
Pretty much. And this is the thing, and it's not just for the WWE roster to look at. Every other organization needs to look at this and think about how great card placement, great workers, presentation, it was a small show. Yeah, it was a small show, but the presentation made it feel bigger. Like the Shinsuke Nakamura entrance where you had the guy on the violin.
With the violin.
I mean?
Yes.
And again, what the internet did with that was also classic too, by the way. Just keep it up, internet. Keep it up, internet.
Yeah, they memed the fuck out of that. But that's the thing. And, the Bobby Roode entrance, as we put, they made it more important that way. And that's the way you need to do things. You make stars. I think WWE's developmental system can't be touched right now. It can't be touched because of the fact that NXT is making stars. The biggest problem that they're going to have is the fact they're going to be calling more and more people up soon. They're going to be raiding that roster again very, very soon, in my opinion, because at the moment, on both the SmackDown and Raw sides, there is so much lack of roster depth going into it. So
they made 4 stars that night.
yes.
I mean, maybe if you want to count 4.5, because Asuka's kind of already a star before that.
For Austin Aries.
All right, 6 stars. They made Austin Aries a star that night. They made Bobby Roode a star that night. They made Bayley a star that night. They made Samoa Joe a star that night, and they made Shinsuke Nakamura an unquestionable star that night.
Yes,
That's the next year of NXT. If they want to stay in NXT for the next year, that show is just fine with those 5. Well, now Bayley moved up.
Yeah.
Moved up.
So that was Takeover. Now on to the next big event of the weekend.
The Midsummer Classic, or end of Summer Classic, Summerslam.
Yep.
Which started reasonably early. I don't know if you realize that the pre-show started at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
With interviews and stuff like that. God bless Renee Young for being on TV for that long. She has entered the stage of, though, I guess, with her relationship with Dean Ambrose, where you start to adhere and look like the other person that you're with. Hair, denim jackets. They've entered that phase. There's no going back.
Yeah, it's like she.
I feel bad for her though. She's working a huge schedule. If you think about like the pre-shows and the Talking Smack and her own show on the network as well.
She does the TV. So they do Sundays when they do pay-per-views. So when they do pay-per-views, Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays. That's it. She works 3 days a week.
I really, really hope they are paying her like very.
That's another star that they've made. Eventually, at some point in time, they're going to lose her to one of the big networks, either one of the.
Yeah, because her face is everywhere right now, and that's kind of the biggest thing about. This is the thing. I remember Vince at one point was like, "No announcer should be bigger than than the product and then the wrestlers."
But I know and I understand what Vince was saying by that. You're also making a star, and I'm not saying Renee Young is going to become the focal point of the show. You're putting her out there that much.
We're making her a superstar now. She's going to eventually...
You're putting there a commodity, and then someone's going to see that, and then, oh, hey, I want her on Sports Center and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time before she makes that transition.
But that's the thing. Sports Center, she's going to get paid. They're going to throw a lot of money at her to do less work, and she's going to sit there and go...
Well, no, Access Hollywood, stuff like Access Hollywood and Sports Center, that's a 5-day-a-week job. Like, they do... I mean, yeah, granted, they probably only tape an hour or so, a half hour, but...
Yeah, but it's not a 5-day... It's not like
you're there, you're set.
Where you got to go to a hotel. Yeah, you have to travel. You have to go all the way to, like, Titan Towers, or whatever the fuck they call it at the moment. You've got to go to the studios. You've got to go to Full Sail. You have to go to all the kind of big pay-per-view events or the SmackDown events. She's everywhere. She's traveling a hell of a load. And if she gets a pay like something that's basically greater than what the WWE is paying her to travel to a studio and back, I guarantee she's going to take it.
So
that's what I see.
SummerSlam had a great match on the opening card, which is the first match of the Best of 7 series, which was, I thought very easily could have made its way onto the main show. But, again, this was a 4-hour show.
I will say this again. Poor Cesaro and poor Sheamus for getting shafted again.
Well, I mean, I don't think they got shafted. I just think there was X amount of time, Y amount of matches. And they were. I would have rather had
that than Roman versus fucking Rusev, where Roman.
But then you're putting the United. So honestly, tell me you would have rather have the United States title on the pre-show than that match.
If you were going to do what you did on like the pay-per-view, then yes. Because I hated that match, and I felt bad.
And we'll talk about that when we get into that.
Yeah,
I just think Sheamus and Cesaro had, again, these are two steady guys. You put them in the match, you make a good match, no matter where. So we're going to get 7 good matches out of this. This is just the first one, which surprisingly Sheamus won. I don't think any of us picked that. We were all pretty much adamantly in the Cesaro section for that one, but Yeah. So that was
They
one.
weren't giving me balls.
No. All right. What do you want to move on to after that? Let's talk about Enzo and Big Cass because that actually started out the show.
Yep.
You got another great promo from Enzo. Not like as legendary as I thought we were going to see, but solid way to open the show with again great mic work and ring talent in Owens and Jericho. And Owens and Jericho surprisingly got the win in this match.
Yeah, that was a weird one for me as well, but I could see why, because I think up until the current Raw, I really believe that they were positioning this feud to go long-term between the two teams. Like it would eventually...
Actually, they weren't positioning this feud to go long-term because it came out or it allegedly came out that, they were on tap for big things, and we'll talk about big things, or those big things that aren't going to happen.
Enzo and Cass, or
no, Jericho and Kevin Owens were slated for big things separately, quote unquote. That's all I want to say. We'll talk about that later. But I think this is just a bump in the road for Enzo and Big Cass. They're not like it sounds like Vince McMahon hates them. They lost to that. They had a great match with two of the best talents in the company. Yeah. They're good. This is them being slowly made and slowly built to the point where they absolutely will be tag team champions one day. Like that's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. What was next?
Well, you want to just go over the highlight the card?
Yeah, let's go big highlights. Yeah, big highlights.
So we had
Jon Stewart making his return to WWE programming in the New Day Bullet Club match.
By the segment backstage, I told Miguel and Mike, it was like, oh, Brandon just lost his shit. He just came. When all of a sudden Finn came out in the middle of that whole thing.
Oh, yeah. No. That's just, it's Finn being Finn, trolling the internet for 3 years, saying, he can't wait till his friends come back and he can form the Bullet Club, and then, when the only time that all of them are on screen together, and even usually the first time him and AJ are on screen together, but the one time that all the core members of the Bullet Club are on screen together in WWE, Finn just totally blows it off.
Like, yeah, hey.
Act's too cool for school.
Yeah, I was like, I got my own shit to worry about here, guys.
Yeah, that was a great moment, though.
Love that.
So Jon Stewart made his return. I guess helping out the New Day. I guess trying to find some redemption for last year.
I didn't like the segment. I didn't like the match. I thought the match they kind of sacrificed the match itself to give it like a comedy moment, which you don't really need to put the club in.
I think this was done to prolong this feud, because I think if you gave the titles on the Bullet Club right from the jump, they have nothing to chase for. So give them something to chase. Let them go back and forth for a while with this, and then at least let the New Day have the titles for 365 days, which I think they have now surpassed.
Yep.
So now that's kind Clash of the Champions, which they brought back. I'm glad that they did that. I think another suggestion that they may or may not have stole from us.
I think if they do call for brawl, then I'm just going to come.
And that's what I'm showing up at WWE World Headquarters and saying, all right, what the fuck? Give me a job, because we're clearly coming up with the same ideas here. Let's work together. Why are we working? Why am I throwing rocks from the outside? Like, let me into your party. Really, we're clearly working on the same creative wavelength here.
I'll totally agree on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
move from that match.
Yeah, as we quickly try and move on from that match.
Because that match was terrible.
We move from a positive or from a negative, what Burhan said, to a positive. AJ Styles versus John Cena.
Damn.
Stole the show. The motherfucking show.
Yeah, no.
And you know what? I will say this about John Cena. He knows how to put a guy over. No, remember like a year ago, we were sitting here going, John Cena doesn't know how to put anyone over. Right? John Cena does for himself.
Even 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when we were, it was in the height of Cenadom, when, there hadn't been anybody for him, and it just been him being fed, like Punk. I think Punk was the first person to beat John Cena clean on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and he beat him twice without no repercussions. Cena never beat him again on a live pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. So he never got that win back. Same goes for Daniel Bryan. And I think that was it. That's it. There's 2 guys that Cena put over and never got a win.
So before that, up until that point, it had just been Cena just mercilessly putting people over. So now he's, in that transition to that stage where he's putting over the new guy over, which again surprised me that the new guy is now AJ Styles, who's around the same age as him. But
the one thing I will say about Styles versus Cena, though, is the expression on Cena's face. Now, this was done twice. This moment was done twice. One from a heel perspective and one from a face perspective. The way that Cena did it, he had that expression on his face like, I can't beat this guy. He's like, what am I going to do to defeat this dude? And it was brilliant. It gave that kind of moment to Styles, and it made it so much bigger organically. Just the fact that Cena made that expression, and the camera was just focused on that expression, and he got in there. The two, and I will say this, right? This match made Cena and AJ the 2 best workers in the business right now. You can't touch that match. No one can touch that match. Maybe NXT could probably touch that match, but it basically made these guys look like gold, and it didn't even hurt Cena's credibility at all.
No, if anything, it arrived. It's AJ Styles is the man. Like we always do that. We just didn't sign him ever.
No more LOL Roman wins.
No, it doesn't. We have a new star. His name is AJ Styles.
Yes.
Say hi to him, everybody.
By the way, Dixie, just tighten that noose just a little bit more, yeah?
Oh, that's cruel.
That poor woman, man. She's just had arguably the worst month ever. Lost both the charge of the company and all of her former talent is now performing exceedingly well in the main competition that she tried so hard to establish herself as a legitimate second option to.
And your biggest heel in the company right now is the idiot from Smashing Pumpkins.
Well, he's not the song. He's the chief idiot. Okay.
Anyway.
He's like a deer in headlights. He makes Titus look like fucking The Rock.
Oh God, let's not talk about that bad, terrible Titus O'Neil promo from Raw. I want to like Titus O'Neil so bad, but every time he takes one step forward, he takes like 20 steps back. Gain momentum. He prevents Vince McMahon from walking to the back. Gets suspended for.
Yeah, Vince sat there and was like, I should have suspended it for another 90 days for that promo alone.
I think he I think he'll do perfectly fine in TNA next year. We're on track for.
But anyway, Jason, SummerSlam is going to be another one of those potential match of the year candidates. This weekend was full of them, so
I think this was the best wrestling weekend of the year. I think we're gonna have to compare what NXT Takeover and WrestleMania to this and some Takeover at Brooklyn.
We are spoiled. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and then even if you look at Honor, we have a new Ring of Honor World Champion too.
Yes. Speaking of, Adam Cole, baby. Is the new, the glorious run of Jay Lethal had to come to an end at some point in time. Yep. Adam Cole and first Ring of Honor has to do something to hold out to Adam Cole before WWE comes calling. I don't know if Adam Cole would actually go and actually fit in because I think he's another big personality. I think he's like a Seth. I see a lot of when I see Adam Cole, and I've never met Adam Cole, or the only person that's probably I've never met them that Adam Cole is Dijak, but I just get the impersonation that he's very not arrogant, but just knows what he's worth, knows that he's good, so he carries himself with a lot of confidence.
I've seen him on wrestling podcasts and stuff, and he doesn't come off the way that his character is on TV. He's very humble. In my opinion,
good.
I think he would do well on a WWE roster, but the thing at the moment is it's money. And a lot of these guys, these independent guys who refuse the WWE, they all say the same thing, money. The pay cut has to be worth it. I think now you're seeing a lot of guys progressing to the main roster and becoming full-time guys after their stint in NXT. Then the money does become worth it because you start earning money and it starts paying dividends on the roster itself, like Owens, like AJ Styles, who kind of got flipped onto the main roster witithout NXT. He kind of bypassed that system. Like
because he's AJ freaking Styles.
Yeah, like the girls of the four horsewomen of NXT. So you've got a lot of guys, American Alpha again as well, and they're kind of homegrown talent there. You've got a lot of guys that have come from NXT and now are making a lot more money on the main roster because of the fact that they were given those tools and they transitioned. And you've got a lot of these guys that have come in and said, okay, if I spend 1 or 2 years on NXT, that's fine. I can probably survive on them because they give you accommodation as well, don't they? Because you're staying on Full Sail, you're staying near the university anyway. So they're paying you. You're getting an okay salary.
They don't pay for the house. They don't pay for your housing or anything else like that. They don't subsidize housing. They pay them enough where they could afford rent, and to live off of. Yeah, they make enough, but yes, most of the talent out there would probably make more money on the independent circuit if they were big enough names.
Yeah, so there you go. So
anyway.
again, with Adam Cole, I think that the big thing at the moment with him is it going to be worth it to stay in Ring of Honor? And I think because now he's part of the Bullet Club, he's got the dual bookings between NJPW and Ring of Honor. So
I think. Here's the thing: is they're also transitioning for the inevitable time period when WWE comes calling for Kenny Omega, and they're going to need another leader for the Bullet Club, and then Adam Cole will be Bullet Club leader number 4.
Did you hear on the podcast when Styles said that he was never a leader of the Bullet Club? That he was never the leader. That he was just basically the dude that held the world title, but he was never the leader.
Yeah, and he was always the guy in the center of the title. But he was never officially leader of the Bullet Club, but he was the centerpiece of the Bullet Club, as he had the IWGP Heavyweight title.
Yep.
And congrats to Omega again, by the way. That was freaking to win the fucking G1 tournament. Bam.
Yeah, no, and to win in the way he did, he have a great match with Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, and I can't wait for that. So moving on, we went positive. So do you want to do a negative?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a negative? All right, let's do another negative of the show, other than the length of the show, which I thought with again, the SummerSlam, I understand it's a big pay-per-view, but 4 hours is getting entirely too long. Once it gets well into 11 o'clock, I'm starting to check out.
Well, I think hard placement, it's fine. As long as you place, when you know what the pacing's going to be like on the card, you could do it so you could have the kind of down moments and the up moments. But because the card was so misplaced,
that's why the women went on so late, that one tag match went on so late.
It's one of those things you come out of it and you're like, okay.
I was literally just waiting for the show to end. The show literally got to a point where I'm just like, all right, how many more matches are left? Like, how many?
Okay, here's a big down moment for you. The Universal Championship, not the match itself, just the title. The title looked like someone stole Nakamura's leather
jacket and made a belt out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no problem if they just went with like a black background and had the red backplate to it.
I was saying the same thing to Nick, that they should have just had the red back and black belt,
Yeah.
Or something.
I knew it wasn't going to be too much of a deviation from the world heavyweight title because they already have the most, which I get. But you know what? I think the red backing, just the background would have looked. It's like what they did back then. Almost how it up, but yeah. Excuse me.
It just didn't. It didn't work, and the crowd it affected the way that the crowd was received in the match itself. But the match itself was amazing. The
match itself, I think, delivered. I think it was everything I expected from those. Absolutely tore the house down.
Yeah. The one thing which a lot of people are going at the moment, and I can... The thing is, right, this move has a lot of detractors, and I can see a lot of people's points. Just the fact that this move retired Sting, and now it put Balor on the shelf for, what, like 6 months?
They say 6 months, it could be longer.
Yeah, maybe less. You know, we've seen people rehab from less than that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of those things that I come out of it and I look at it and I think to myself, okay, the fact that Balor needs points for the fact that his shoulder popped out and he popped it back in and finished the match, right? Mm-hmm. That's hardcore. Yeah. That's impressive. But I do think that maybe he either needs to look at ways of performing the move safer or stop doing the move entirely. And I get what you're saying, because you're like, well, it's the people who are taking it that's the problem.
I'm not putting it on it. I just think that there's no way to... Again, I get what you're saying. The only way to ensure nobody gets hurt from it is to stop people doing it. But then that deprives the audience itself of that move in an entertaining spot. And also... Don't
make it a special move. Don't make it a move that he uses all the time.
You're putting he doesn't do that in every move. He doesn't turnbuckle powerbomb everybody in every move. He usually only does that in pay-per-view matches right at the end.
I swear he's done that move to a few other guys on like the Raw shows and stuff as well.
I've never seen him do it on like a mid-card Raw. If he does it on a Raw, it's a main event of Raw. He never does it like when he's in the mid-card or
the
opening match.
I've taken that, you know, he's done it to Dean before. Dean was fine. I think it's just, if you look at how Balor took it, he stuck his arm out and that's what fucked him up.
So, yeah. But again, doing that on the guardrail as well wasn't a smart move. That wasn't a smart move whatsoever. So now we've got someone who, and again, he gritted it out. He finished the match. And then the next night,
that's the kind of incident that you really can't prep for that. There's the only way to 100% eliminate it is to not do the move. And I don't want to not do the move because you're further putting another governor. Because look how much work they had to do to Seth Rollins just to get him to be in the WWE. Like, look at a Tyler Black match in Ring of Honor. He was doing that then.
Jim Cornette was... I remember there was an interview with Jim Cornette when he was Ring of Honor commissioner / backstage producer / booker.
Yeah.
And he was saying that him and Hunter were talking to then Tyler Black. He was like, you need to be shown as a champion, and in order to do that, you've got to kind of change your style a little bit more. You've got to have more presence. You've got to take that chip off your shoulder and be the guy, you know. And he was getting really pissy, if I remember. But it's just, I think Jim knew that he was a big thing, but he just wanted to kind of tweak those issues.
He put the governor on him. They put the governor on him, like a car.
Yeah, and kind of down a little bit. And I think it kind of has helped. But again, my biggest issue with Seth, and I think the majority here, is you've had 2 different incidents with this move. Find a way to make it more safer, I think. Or get rid of it altogether, because if he injures
he can make sure people are more bump when he does it. I mean, I'm sure that's probably in most things, like, guys aren't totally prepared, or they think they're prepared and they're not actually prepared. It's wrestling. It's wrestling. It's not ballet. Injuries are going to happen.
Yeah.
If we're gonna indiscriminately break down injuries minutely and try and for it to not happen, then why are we doing this anyway? And
I agree.
You're crossing the line.
It's the cost to wrestle for WWE is a lot more than it is on the independents. And we can go into a little bit because we can talk about talking smack after we finish with the rundowns.
We'll talk. Yeah, we'll move on. So Finn Balor came out of SummerSlam as your new Universal Champion. Congratulations, buddy.
High quality match.
Yep. Yeah, high quality match. We didn't know that would be the last we would see him for a while, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns versus Rusev. I was really disappointed in that.
Should not have been that high on the card if they were going to do that.
That should have been a mid card. Yeah. That should have been a solid mid card. But I almost said maybe it was the cool down after that. The
thing is, it did nothing for the 2, and the position on the card was the biggest thing for this.
It went on. I think it went on after Dean and Ziggler. Great match between those guys, by the way. Went on
Yeah, it was
after
a great
the
match.
Universal title.
That wasn't a show steal. It was a good match between. It was a match that we knew the two of those guys were going to have.
Yeah. So,
I thought that match could have been. I was expecting a lot better from that match. That was another negative point I was going to mention. I expected better.
I know. I'm trying to hurry this up because I gotta get ready to get going to work here soon.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So anyway, and went on after the return of Neil in that 6-man tag. So
yeah.
Welcome back,
it was cool. Like the Finn Seth match was so good. They have to have a 2-match cooldown.
Yeah. All right.
That's how good of a match that was. That doesn't happen in wrestling. We have a 2-match cooldown period. Doesn't happen. So on to Lesnar Orton of the night, which was the main event of the night, which was no doubt about that. Brock Lesnar does not main event for anybody. It's not sub-card to anybody.
I don't know. I don't think that match should have gone on last, but that's just me because of how much of a
Brock Lesnar. Look, I thought we had a great match because, again, it was Orton taking all of Brock Lesnar's offense. We got an RKO on the table.
And the table didn't break.
The table didn't break. Was it supposed to? Who knows?
If it was supposed to, it no-told. Botchamania. I am the table.
Yeah. Or it had to look like he didn't care. He's just like, whatever, let's roll with it.
Yeah.
Or he was waiting for it to break when he sat up. Like that's also kind of like waiting for.
Yeah.
But it was at the end where like I've gone back and forth on this several times. The ending of this match was pretty brutal. Like I don't know. I'm assuming that was the ending. Was supposed to be a TKO, and Orton being the eternal tough guy, saying, "Yeah, I'll take elbows from Brock Lesnar. I don't give a shit."
Which was fine, but at the same level,
it just got. I don't think Orton realized what he was signing up for. Like, all right, Brock said, "You want me to really hit you? Okay." Whap, elbow.
Because Gavin was told that Brock knows how to grade it and be and because I was sitting there, I was like, did he blade or like? And then he said, that was not a blade job.
No.
That was a Brock elbow job.
That reminded me of Mickey when he was getting in the face.
Yeah, he was just wailing on it for a while, and like I get a little squeamish around that much blood, but that was an open leaking head wound, and I mean Brock Lesnar won by TKO. Let's just talk about the altercation that happened afterwards because that was so good. The boys in the back didn't even know what was going on, and Chris Jericho being the locker room leader that he always is, and the fearless one apparently according to Lance Storm. Got right up in Lesnar's face saying, "What the hell is that? Was that the fucking plan? Da, 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 da. You're too dangerous." I don't know what this is reports back and forth, but Brock Lesnar was at least pushed back, or I wouldn't say intimidated by, or let Chris Jericho get in his face, and Chris Jericho showed no fear to Brock Lesnar and was ready to fight him right there. Apparently, the two had to be pulled apart. Mm-hmm. And
with Lesnar saying to him, "Either fight me or kiss me."
Are you gonna fight me? Yeah, when Jericho was Lesnar's face, either fight me or kiss me. Great Brock Lesnar line. That's how good of an ending that was. That blurred the line between reality and
definitely
and wrestling. Was that was definitely I think Orton's receipt for the steroids line.
Yes,
that's what I think that elbow was for.
No enhancement needed.
he's like, oh, okay, all right. You want to end it like that? Are you sure, motherfucker? Oh yeah, you want to say it? Fucking, huh? Oh, you like that? Huh?
It was great. Oh. Okay.
Brandon, it just sounded like you were having aggressive sex.
I mean, that's me if I'm Brock Lesnar punching Randy Orton in the face. Also, that is how I sort of
came out of this. I felt the only issue with that match was the fact that it was on the wrong part of the card. I think with the crowd,
what they did. I think with what they did at the end of it, that's the only way they could have ended the match. What they had when Brock Lesnar F5 Shane McMahon.
Yeah,
it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been the main event. I think the main event should have been the Universal Championship.
I don't know. I don't know how they ended on a down ending. Like that's
It's kind of a dumb.
The crowd wanted to go home. You sent them home and angry, which wasn't a good idea.
No, he wants to do the exact opposite of what Triple H did. I watched that. Probably was the plan to have Finn and Seth close the shit. Lesnar beats the shit out of Orton.
I think that would have been fine because people would have been concerned.
Yeah,
but then you're like,
but Triple H did the Nakamura happy ending, and he's like, well, we can't have that 2 nights in a row. Brock's gonna beat the shit out of Orton to close the show.
Yeah, I think I do love when Vince got in Jericho's face. He's like, it's our work, damn it.
You son of a bitch!
Be mature.
Did Jericho call Lesnar a stupid idiot, though?
That's what I want to know.
I think he did.
Reports are unconfirmed.
Jericho is a fucking badass. So should we do...
Jericho, certified badass.
Instead of running down Raw and SmackDown, should we just do takeaways from each show?
The takeaways, we're going to run it down. Beth now made her debut in Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
Happy Bailey. Finn
do you like
Balor
the Macho Man style jacket she was wearing?
I mean, she's had that for a while. She's had that ever since, like, TakeOver last year. So she will be facing Charlotte, who did win the women's title at Summerslam, because apparently Sasha Banks is going away for a while, I guess. Was the reason?
By the way, we need to start up some Don't Die Sasha chants.
No. Don't forget about Sasha. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let Homegirl go on her. Let Homegirl go on her honeymoon, and then come back.
Yeah.
We were worried, Nick, weren't we? We were fucking worried.
Yeah.
No.
That was. So it looks like she won't need surgery. She's just gonna be out for a month, 2, whatever it is. So good.
Heal some nagging injuries. Yeah.
Yep. So thank God. Let's move on. Charlotte's now the women's champion. She's gonna face Bayley. I don't think
she's
Bayley...
20. She's 23, and she's put a lot of miles on that body. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
24. Put a lot of miles on that. So let her heal up and live her life for a while.
Yep.
So Charlotte versus Bayley. Bayley's not going to title right away. I think that like WrestleMania.
I think it's a big feud between the two. I don't see another Charlotte versus Nash.
No.
SmackDown.
I know. I was saying that.
Anyway, so Finn Balor did have to relinquish the WWE title.
So another title?
Yeah, he's 13-time heavyweight champion.
Vacant has held the title for what? Now you can actually see on WWE.com.
He's a 13-time world champion. That's Vacant is approaching Ric Flair levels. That's all I'm saying.
Never even had to ring once.
So Finn Balor, after relinquishing the title, they had a fatal 4-way or qualifying matches for a fatal 4-way.
Now, next week would be Big Cash.
They had to do it this way because if the plan is what we all think they're going to do, there's no way they could have done that in Brooklyn, and anybody would not have started throwing things. After the night they got her, they had to do something different, which I don't have We'll talk about that when it happens, if it happens. That's next week's show.
I will say they made a bona fide start, even for one night, out of Finn Balor. So
yes, and going forward, I think they will have a star in Finn Balor. I think Finn Balor's return is going to be circa Triple H's return in 2000 when he came back from the injury.
The right promo packages.
Right place, time.
Yeah.
Right place, right time. So I thought they did drop a ball by doing this, though, because again, remember the three of the names that I mentioned that were big stars coming out of NXT Takeover: Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode.
Yeah.
They dropped the ball, I think, not by integrating those 3 guys immediately into that situation. Like that promo to open Raw, all those guys standing in the ring, glorious hits. That building loses its fucking mind.
Yeah.
Nakamura's music hits. That building loses its fucking mind. Joe's music hits. That building loses its fucking mind.
Yes.
I think they're waiting. They're waiting on that. So I agree with you to some extent, but I disagree with you.
Drop the ball. They have 3 commodities right now, I think, ready to go, ready to be big stars, and just they
need someone to carry the NXT brand at the moment. So I can understand why Joe may make his debut. My opinion is, I think the people they should have put into this title situation, Cesaro, Sheamus, should have been involved.
Well, I think Cesaro and Sheamus get the short end of the stick because if they weren't already involved with each other, one of them...
They should have put them in now. They should have put them in. They could have included their matches as part of the Best of 7
That should have been the Best of 7 series. Should have got an immediate WWE. Should get an immediate Universal title shot.
Yes, and that's what's pissing me off right now because they seem to ignore Cesaro, and I know they're doing it storyline-wise now, but it's getting to the point where he's getting frustrated. And you can
we
see
talked
it
about that last
face.
week. We talked about that last week. Like,
Yeah, he cut a huge promo recently about how he's not getting his shot. And, I know it makes good TV, but at the same time, you really need to give this guy... And you know what? And I was down on Sheamus when he won the WWE Championship against Roman Reigns. He's looking remarkable. He's actually looked real strong, to coin a Roman phrase there, in his matches against Cesaro. I think the two of these guys have got legs. Put the title in there. They'll work even more harder. And I've got a feeling that you would end up with a bona fide world champion there. By doing what they've done, Cass is way too early, right?
I think he's in there to get a high-profile spot.
Yeah. I don't think Cass has a legitimate chance of winning the title, but I just think put him in the match just for the sake of who else you're going to... You lose nothing by just putting him in the match.
KO, I agree with.
Here's the thing: I think Kevin Owens is going to win.
Rollins.
I think Kevin Owens is going to win.
I got the way I see it this way is, in my opinion, if you give Kevin Owens or Rollins, you're going to have to do a double turn if you make those the final two, because someone's going to have to be the face in the program, because a heel program isn't going to work. So who would you turn, Brandon? Would you turn Rollins or would you turn Owens?
Well, I think Owens is already a heel, so you just have him keep doing what he's doing, and people will boo him. The kids will boo him. It's just people our age group are going to cheer him no matter what he does. It's the same thing with Seth, but...
Being a top face.
Let Seth chase for a while. That's
I agree on that one. I did have yet, but mathematically,
like have him just find ways of keep getting screwed out. Like I said, this is going to be a 4-way match. Yeah. Have him be on the outside, or hold his leg and prevent him.
Roman should be nowhere near this championship.
Roman should be the one preventing him. You know what?
I think Rusev comes in and fucks over Roman.
Yeah, that should happen, because
that would be nice.
The feud with Rusev and Roman is interesting, and it has me invested.
No, exactly. That's why I was so disappointed in how that match. There was just so much disappointment in both the Ambrose match and that. But all right, Nick's got to get out of here, so we're gonna do an Iron Sheik tweet of the week.
Well, quick SmackDown notes: they introduced new titles.
They did introduce new titles. Completely forgot about that.
The titles look gorgeous, and they did a double turn.
The women's title, great. I'm not a fan of the tag titles. They should have went back to the. They should have went back to the old. They should have went back to the old tag team titles. Remember that design where it was kind of like...
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you, but
they could have kept the same color scheme, but just that design.
I get what they're doing. They're trying to give a uniformity to both brands, so it doesn't look like one brand superseding the other.
And toy manufacturing, that's a big thing too.
Yeah. It's like palette swaps, basically. So I get what they're doing.
No, they get less money. They get less money from Mattel because Mattel has to make more stuff.
Yes.
So they're just we could use this WWE title mode and just put Universal title next to it. There we go.
Yeah. So I get it. I don't mind it as far as I'm concerned. They do look nice. The big story coming out of SmackDown, there's two big stories. Slater and Rhino are teaming, and if Slater wins the entire tag tournament for Slater now, then they will be the new first SmackDown Tag Team Champions, and they will also have Slater having a SmackDown. I'm a big fan of the Slater free agent angle. A big fan. I don't agree with that it kind of made Bryan and Shane look like heels a couple of times when he basically he got the brass ring, but they still pulled the rug out from under him. So, but this is a great way of doing it.
It was like, oh, thank you, Stephanie. Like that. Your time.
Thank you, man. You're so beautiful, Steph. I'm like, that was kind of classless, especially because you've got the concussion shit going on at the moment, and you take away a contract from a dude who had a concussion. Good on you, even if it was kayfabe. So yeah, there's that. Then we also had the women's situation where Carmella ends up turning on Nikki Bella. So that Nikki came back at the SummerSlam. One of the issues me and Nick had from SummerSlam.
I like that she called her like a bootleg. She called Carmella bootleg Nikki Bella.
You know what? I love Carmella's mean streak. She's kind of differentiated herself from Enzo and Cass now by what she did to Nikki. She fucked that bitch up. I was sitting there going, what the fuck?
Nikki Bella's done a good job putting her over. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes. So you got a good ready-made feud there. It was a great double turn. Some people have been sitting there going, "Oh, it wasn't that great." Blah blah blah. Nikki was a face to begin with. It was a great double turn. It worked well. Then we end up with the Talking Smack segment between Bryan and The Miz. Nick, take it away.
Holy crap! Miz fucking went off on Bryan. It's like he's spitting fire. He is angry. He's got all emotion.
Yeah, who lit a fire? The Miz. I mean, I get what he was doing in the promo. Like he was acting, but I don't know what it touched and stuff like that. And I guess there may be
he wasn't acting. That promo looked passionate. You could see it in his eyes.
I think it was very clearly a thing, and they were like, look, I'm going to say some stuff. You're going to walk off the stage. I'm going to that's the reaction.
I agree. It was a worked shoot, but I think you could tell that he believes what he's saying, and that's the big thing.
No, that's what I'm saying. There is some either professional or personal lingering animosity between the two, either whether it's been resolved or what have you, that he just tapped into, and he just he used. And I think, and I was talking about this with Fatu afterwards, I mean, we definitely think Miz just put himself in the line for a WWE Championship run after this Intercontinental title run ends inevitably.
Oh,
even if
I
it
agree.
But if it doesn't run and they just got this Miz trying to be the best Intercontinental Champion there ever is, I'm fine with that. That works too for me. I think the Miz just stepped his game up, man.
Yeah. He's become the Miz that we all thought he could be, but never was able to achieve it. Like when he was WWE champion, he wasn't on this level.
He's been hindered recently with his gimmick. Like before that, he was just like he was a bootleg American Edge, like opportunist, right guy, right time kind of thing. Like that's how he won Money in the Bank. That's how he cashed in. Mm-hmm. Then he was a celebrity thing. Well, that's kind of run its course. Now he's going to be like, I'm the best fucking Intercontinental Champion there ever is. And this is my title.
Some very good points as well. He brings up some very good points in the fact that the style currently on the indie style that's come onto
right there. That was the pipe bomb. Like that was Mrs. Pipe Bomb moment right there. Yeah, when he said the reason why Daniel Bryan is on the shelf or was on the shelf and had to retire was his style, and his style allows him not to be injured all the time. I was like, oh, snap. And then when he said, you want to do this so bad, the WWE doctors are the only thing that's keeping you from doing wrestling, and quit. I was like, oh, that is for if they could get you to suspend disbelief for just a little bit, to think, is that a shoot? Is it a work? Who knows?
Yeah.
So that's it. That's the reasons why Vince McMahon is a goddamn billionaire. Right there. Those are
this thing. And this is one of the reasons why I like SmackDown a lot better than Raw at the moment. Because SmackDown was, the show itself, bell to bell, was amazing. And I think with the Talking Smack segment, it gives that show an extra kind of edge to it, if that makes
it has its own Austin podcast after its own podcast segment. Like I guess they could clearly tell that they're letting their hair down.
Yeah.
I loved Renee Young's special face though. She's like, you don't have to do this here. Why
It's like, why are you doing this here?
What's the point of this? And he killed The Miz. The Miz killed it, man. Yeah. And he got people talking, and even now, people are talking about it. Even if it's good or bad, people are talking about the most positive thing of SmackDown was this segment. And it basically, this week is still not over. We've got NXT coming up. We have, that's just happened, should I say. We've got Ring of Honor. We've got so many other wrestling shows and LOL TNA. So if you're a fan of wrestling, it's a great week to be a wrestling fan because it was
a great week to be a wrestling fan. And on that note, we're going to send it off. Iron Sheik. Well, theme song.
Jim, I talk to him. I want to know, are you the man or are you a fucking piece of shit? No good motherfucker. Fucking bullshit! bullshit Hulk Hogan. I'm the rare All-American gold medal.
Iron Sheik weighed in on obviously the biggest news story coming out of the Rio Olympics, as well as everything going on the weekend. But this one, I thought, was the most poignant one. The Ryan Lochte, you make big-time jabroni move, but you still have the gold medal. You could tell the Speedo to go fuck themselves. Offering like advice to a guy who's under siege right now. That is just one of the many things that you could find at the Iron Sheik's Twitter feed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your Iron Sheik tweet of the week.
Fucking bullshit!
All right, plugs. I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Twitch TV.
Usual www.
Yeah, Facebook.com/Wrestling Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Like us on iTunes. Like Slamcast on iTunes and all the other Retro Unlim shows on there. Twitch TV/False Finish. That's my new Twitch channel for the False Finish Productions. I'm gaming on there most nights. Come say hi.
Yep.
It's fun.
Yeah. I'm on a YouTube, Game Pegs 187, Twitter, Gamers 187, Facebook, Nick Horaceck. I'm in Wrestling/MMA Revolution Facebook group. I mean, I'm all over the place. I gotta get to where I didn't mean to get to. I'll be there in like 7 minutes.
Oh no!
Went on way longer than it was planning on. Yeah,
for Nick Horaceck, for Michael Forth and Beauty and Light, peace, love, and humbleness. Support wrestling. Bye.
Yes.